You're listening to the Overcast. Sunshine on a cloudy day. Part of the Oversoul Gaming channel. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Overcast, your joke-making, fun-having pop culture podcast. I am your host, Justin, aka Oversoul.
And I am your co-host, Nick, aka the Vaping Fiend.
And like always, we bring you sunshine on a cloudy day. And considering the results of what happened a couple Tuesdays ago, I think we can expect a lot of cloudy days in the future. So we're gonna have to double down on the comedy and sunshine to counteract it around here.
Yes, abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah, so that will be the case. Now, obviously, it's impossible to get through this without addressing the elephant in the room, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a layered joke if you know your political party symbols. Anyways,
You're right.
Anyway, oh look, we're already starting. But no, on a serious note though, I just want anyone who listens to this show that's in a marginalized or oppressed community to know that you are safe with us. This is a safe space here.
Absolutely.
On this show. This is, we welcome any and all people of all races, sexual orientations, gender identities, and so on and so forth. So, you are a friend on this show.
Absolutely.
We are an ally. So, with that out of the way and all that being said, we thought it would be, fun. I say this with a upside down smiley face, of course, but it would be fun to quote unquote celebrate the results of the election by discussing our favorite dystopian future media in this episode. So, yes, not tongue-in-cheek at all. So we are going to do that for the topic later. But before that, it'll be your usual dose of life updates and
Media Corner.
And Media Corner. Right. So, and it feels like it's been a couple of weeks because it has. The last episode that just came out recently at the time of recording this was recorded before all that nonsense happened. So, as usual, a bit of a day late and a dollar short, but we're getting closer to the holidays. It's not quite Thanksgiving yet, but will be soon. And, so tell me, Nick, what has been up with you lately in the past 2 weeks since our last recording? It's, November 16th, by the way, folks.
That's also my dad's birthday today. Let's see. Oh, well, since we last did this, my daughter had her first Girl Scouts meeting.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll say her next... It's the second Sunday of every month. So the next one will be the 15th. The 15th of December. Yeah.
So you're gonna get the hookup on that good is what you're saying.
You mean the Girl Scout cookies? Absolutely.
You've got direct access to the product. Someone's getting a little cut on them Thin Mints and Samoas.
See, my favorites are the Do-si-dos and the Tagalongs, because peanut butter is life.
Yeah. I like the Thin Mints. Obviously, I know you don't like coconut, so you don't like the caramel stripe ones, but I do.
Definitely not.
But I like those ones. I like Thin Mints, and I like the caramel coconut ones. And what are the aren't there like a graham cracker ones with fudge on them or something like that? Kind of like it's very similar to one that Keebler does too.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah,
Those are good.
Girl
Or
Scout
just
cookies.
the ones that are kind of like the caramel ones with the coconut, but don't have caramel or coconut on them. They're just like regular butter cookies with chocolate stripes across them.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones are good too. And
Yes.
they got like the other side is just all fudge,
Mm-hmm.
all chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah, those I like those ones.
Let's see what else
So
has been
Girl
going on.
Scouts, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm excited for her.
Learn some good life lessons and sell some cookies.
That's the goal. That is the goal. Um, let's see. Say we had a couple hockey games. There was Iowa Wild actually. They had an away game against the Rockford Ice Hogs. And they took the pigs out to slaughter that night.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it was the Wild ended up winning. What was the? Hold on one second. The score. I know it was 6-3, 6-4, or something like that. Yeah, no, they completely dominated Rockford that night on Rockford's home ice. Like, and I know I said last night they had the we played the Iowa Wild played the Texas Stars, the affiliates to the Dallas Stars. Uh, and last night's promotion was the Hockey Fights Cancer. So a close family friend of mine, uh, is battling cancer right now, and
hmm.
I wrote her name down on my Hockey Fights Cancer sign. Um, and Sarah wrote down uh, someone that she was a couple few people that she was supporting on her Hockey Fights Cancer sign as well. And when they did that, when they were basically doing the well, who are you fighting for? They had the cameras go around to all of the people that were holding up signs, and Sarah and I ended up on there at least twice
Oh,
because we constantly held up our signs. But last night, okay, before I continue, I got a wild hair up my ass the other day when I was on my lunch break, and I decided to do little browsing during my lunch break. And
I'm,
the
oh,
store I
hold
work
on. I'm
at,
sorry, but I
dude,
have to
okay, no, no,
wait, wait,
no.
wait. I
So
have to point this out.
this, I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere with this.
Uh,
It is related. I
it's
promise.
not that. It's
It's
just that you said
related.
a wild hair up my ass. I'm like, what kind of like crotchety old geezer phrasing is that?
Oh.
Like, people have given me shit for calling people what's his nuts, but here you come with a man. I got a hair up my ass the other day. Like, what the fuck kind of Georgia deep south like old hillbilly phrase is that? Holy shit. I've literally never heard that before.
You've never heard that saying
No,
before? Okay.
but please continue.
So so
Tell us more about
I
your ass
decided to
hair.
just I just I, I decided to do some browsing on my lunch break for some Christmas gift ideas. And I found something that combines two of my favorite things: hockey and Deadpool.
Oh,
The
yes.
store I work at, the store I work at sells Deadpool hockey jerseys.
Yeah, you showed me this.
So I said, so I sent a picture to Sarah, and she's like, I think I might know somebody that would like that. I'm not sure. I have, I could sense sarcasm. So we, when she came to pick me up from work, she we ended, I ended up grabbing a gift or two for, or actually, I think I grabbed one thing for my daughter for Christmas. And then she grabbed me the Deadpool jersey. She's like, "All right, do you want it now or do you want to wait till Christmas?" I'm like, "I don't want to wait. I want to wait. I don't want to wait." I put it on as soon as we got to the car.
Yeah.
Like, and I wore it to last night's game. So, and yeah, I wore it to last night's game. And tonight's game, we went to a game tonight, and it was again against wow, I almost said Dallas Stars. That's NHL. Texas Stars. We played again the Texas Stars again tonight, and tonight they were not the Iowa Wild. They were the Iowa Arrows. Tonight was honor the Veterans Night, and they were giving out military Iowa Wild hats, and the Iowa Arrows was the name of the team when Iowa first picked up a hockey team. So they went back to their roots, like a heritage thing. And Arrows was spelled Aeros, like in arrow, like like
Like the
airplanes.
magic spell in a Final Fantasy game.
That.
It has to do with wind.
Yeah, it's oh,
Like aerodynamic.
yes. Oh, the puck is all the way over there. Because Sarah bought me and her a shirt with the Iowa Arrows
Okay.
logo on it. And here, I'll send you a picture real quick.
So NHL is like the big hockey people. So what do they
Yes,
call this then? What you're keeping up with?
This is the AHL,
Oh, okay.
the American Hockey League.
I, okay. So national can include other countries.
Correct, because the NHL has, I think, do they have two Canadian hockey teams or
Well,
one? I know they've got the Toronto Maple Leafs.
it was a little confusing at first because I was like, well, national and American are almost kind of the same thing because national usually means across the nation that you're a part
There's
of. But
multiple different hockey leagues. Like
oh, I believe it.
The Rockford Ice Hogs have been around since 1999, and I watched them go from the United Hockey League to the American Hockey League.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So this okay, yeah. So I can see in this case, national also includes like Canada and Mexico and shit. So
Mexico does not have a hockey team, unfortunately.
I mean, I'm not surprised. Unless they, I
Fair.
mean, well, I was gonna say where the hell are they supposed to practice, but then I remembered indoor arenas are a thing. Um,
Yes, they are.
that's generally where the
Yeah,
practice takes place.
Yeah, because ice doesn't isn't a factor in either Florida or Texas.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah,
No.
no. Plenty of hockey in Canada though.
Oh,
It's like
absolutely.
a
That's where it originated.
yeah, all the they get a lot of snow up there, so
Yeah. I would say I would say they've got a few Canadian hockey teams in the American Hockey League as well. And they've got the Manitoba Moose.
the why why does the Manitoba Moose sound like the name of an amateur wrestler?
You know, that's a valid
And
point.
in this corner, coming in at 275 pounds, the Manitoba Moose. Yeah,
That's funny.
it's just a big hairy guy.
Yeah, so okay, a lot of people at work were talking about the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight that aired live on Netflix last night.
Uh huh.
I've heard a lot of shit talk. It was like Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul versus buffering.
Yeah, yeah. I heard there was quite a bit of the old buffering. Good job, Netflix. This is why no one likes you
That
anymore.
is that's going to be a huge problem if they can't get it under control by January, because
Yeah,
January 6th I think is going to be the debut of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. And that's going to be streaming live every Monday. Yeah, January 6th. Yeah, that's going to be a huge problem if they can't get that under control. And from my understanding, I read something somewhere they said that they should be able to get that under control by January, because they're
crazy,
expecting a lot of people to be tuning in for the premiere of Monday Night Raw on Netflix.
crazy.
That's a
They
big deal,
can keep raising all these prices, but then can't you know pay for good servers.
right? That's what I'm saying.
This is why I'm not like $20 a month for 4K. They can go fuck themselves. I'm not paying for Netflix
Yeah,
anymore.
no, like
I'm not.
yeah, I went with the package below that.
Yeah, HD is fine, but like still though, like I don't. What's the point in having it if I'm not getting the most out of it? Is the way I see it. Using my
Exactly. Yeah,
4K TV, like all the other apps don't charge me extra for the privilege of watching higher. They have a set fucking price.
mm-hmm.
They may have like an ad-free version I can pay more for, but they're not hiding the higher quality visuals behind a extra paywall.
Definitely
It,
not. Yeah,
it
no, no.
basically blatant extortion, quite frankly.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, huh?
irritating. That's why they're not getting my money anymore. Anything I care about that's on Netflix, I'm getting the old Seven Seas way. Uh, that's just
Fair
yeah,
enough.
Yarg me hearty and all that. Um,
Speaking of Netflix originals, I just I was at work today and I saw Wednesday season 1 on DVD.
ooh, a show that
Yeah,
you just reviewed on our previous episode of this show.
right?
Yes.
But yeah, no, they've got a lot of they've got their Black Friday deals going on right now. So
That's when I'm gonna get most of my Christmas shopping done is on Black Friday, but I'm gonna do it from the comfort of my home on the internet.
there you go.
It's usually when I do it, and
I'm not looking forward to the actual day Black Friday because I
mm,
retail.
look, man, just make sure you go to work with a bulletproof vest and maybe a pocket knife. All I can say. Uh,
Right.
I've seen Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. I know.
That was a good movie.
I reviewed it last year,
Yeah, you
on this
did.
very show, right around this time of year. I think
Hmm.
this time of year last year is actually when we did our unthankful episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty we're getting there. We managed to, I don't know,
Oh,
somehow we managed to make the numbers. We started later in the year last year and got 25 episodes total plus a few bonus. And somehow this year we started in January and still managed to stretch a 25 episode season with a few bonuses. Or will have by the time the
I
season's over.
saw something today,
You know?
and it's got me super excited. I sent you a link, um, and we finally have the first images from the upcoming live action How to Train Your Dragon
Oh
film.
yeah, I saw that. I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I think
I am super excited. I'm glad. So I like how real Toothless looks, but they still managed to keep him a smidgen cartoony.
yeah, is this the first case of a DreamWorks movie getting a live action adaptation? Cuz
I believe
cuz
so.
it's just been Disney up until now. I can't think of
Yeah.
anything else DreamWorks that's done this.
No, I can't think of anything either. This is the first.
I'll be interested to see how it turns out. A lot of people in my family are big fans of How to Train Your Dragon. My sister-in-law Lindsay is obsessed with Toothless. I'm gonna have to see how they
I
feel
love
about
Toothless.
this.
Yeah, no, I I heard Gerard Butler is coming back to reprise his role. But
I,
yeah,
I,
I looked it up.
I'm laughing though because sometimes we have slight internet issues here. So when I'm listening to you on Discord, every once in a while your audio skips a little bit. So when you said Gerard Butler, it came out as Jur Butler.
Oh,
Yeah, I heard Jur Butler is coming back, and it just made me laugh. uh,
okay.
Sometimes the skips are funny, and sometimes they cut out whole parts of the sentence, and I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, he's coming back to reprise his role as Stoic.
Okay. Ooh.
If I remember correctly, Stoic is Hiccup's dad.
Craig Ferguson did a voice in like the first movie, one of the background characters.
He was in all of
Was
them.
he? Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I miss that guy. When it comes to late night talk show hosts, he was always my favorite. Him, and I love how
Yeah, he was Gobber.
he was because Craig Ferguson was basically a satirical take on late night talk shows. He was a late night talk show host, but he did a piss take on it. Like his sidekick was a robot for fuck's sake. Like, you know, he just didn't care, and he had like uh he had all kinds of like the wildest people on, like Carrie Fisher. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I miss him as a late night talk show host and stand up comedian.
I
But
can appreciate who they got to play Gobber for the live action film.
who's that?
Nick Frost.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. I do like the late night people we have now, though. I like Jimmy Fallon, I like Jimmy Kimmel, and I like Stephen Colbert. I've been watching a lot of their monologues since the election for laughter therapy, and I do think that Stephen Colbert definitely has the funniest monologues of the three of them.
Speaking of Saturday Night Live,
No, no, no.
the
I
post
said talk. I said late night talk show hosts, but yeah, that's a good segue. Go ahead.
the post election episode, the cold opening,
Yes, very, very
dude,
sarcasm. Very much. I love.
very.
Yeah,
And I love how they like completely threw the three new cast members under the
and
bus.
Michael Che.
Yes.
Yeah, Colin threw Michael Che under the bus. I like I
Uh,
like how he called him Your Honor. It's like such
yes.
an ass kissing thing. Oh, that was beautiful.
Hmm.
And then
What was it? They're afraid they're gonna get audited.
yeah, and then James Austin Johnson, and he's like, "We're only gonna do flattering impression from now on." And then as he walks off the stage, you can see him rolling his eyes into the back of his head, like he was not shy about it. I love the offstage eye roll.
uh,
The pre and post,
uh,
the pre and post election episodes were both good though, because
yes, they
John
were.
Mulaney did the pre election one, and God,
Oh my God, John Mulaney's was so funny.
he's always funny. There's not a single episode he hosts that isn't hilarious. He used to be a writer for the
I would
show.
say,
John Mulaney
I would say, I
was the
just sat
writer.
down and watched the
What's that?
sat down and I just sat down and watched his special Baby J on Netflix.
Yeah, the one where he talks about going to rehab. That shit was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
And the phone call with Pete Davidson, and they thought it was Al Pacino. Yeah, it's good shit.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I could tell by the way. I know he didn't say the names of the celebrities that were at his intervention, but I could tell who some of them were based on his impressions, and one of them was definitely Fred Armisen. Um,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
He
um,
said he straight up said Fred Armisen's name.
oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
He said, "Guys, Fred Armisen was serious.
okay. Okay.
He didn't make any jokes. It was upsetting."
Oh, you're right. Okay, I do remember that. But yeah, John Mulaney used to be a writer for SNL, and he's the one behind all the lines for Stefan when Bill Hader was on the show.
Really?
He
Okay,
wrote
that makes
John
sense.
Mulaney wrote those skits, but what he did to make Bill Hader crack up and break character every time was he would change some of his lines last minute. So when he read the cue cards live, he didn't know what was coming. It was different
That's
from
fantastic.
it would be different from what they rehearsed. Yeah, so it was a
Oh, I love Bill Hader's character, Stefan.
yeah, so
So
you
funny.
can thank John Mulaney for why that character is so good. Him and Bill Hader's
Oh my
together.
gosh.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And I like how they did his because every time John Mulaney
And
hosts now, they do this bit where he like runs like a bodega or some shitty corner store or something like that, and warns people against buying shit from there, and then it turns into a parody of a bunch of musicals. They did it again
mhm,
this time, and they brought
yes.
Pete Davidson back for it. Um,
Yes, they did.
Andy Samberg was in it as the bear that what's his nut shot um Kennedy Jr. whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I like how they did a Lion King parody with the possums. Um,
Oh, that was so funny.
yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah, John Mulaney's always great, and then Bill Burr hosted the post-election episode, and his monologue was hilarious.
I bet Disney had a fit with the skit that they did with the fire department.
Oh, yeah. You know what's crazy is that
I lost my shit.
all of that shit that they grabbed is probably like real fan art from the internet. Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that's what's messed up
That
about it.
shit was so that shit was funny.
But like, yeah, dude, when he was describing what he saw, because the joke behind that skit was that he was the only one seeing that shit, and everyone else thought he was nuts for seeing it,
Yes.
And then like when he sees the lewd Disney image and explains it, and then it cuts back, and they're like, "Dude, that's a butterfly," and I fucking lost it. He looks at it, it is like legit a butterfly. Um, yeah, that was a.
Is Mike Wazowski dressed in drag, spreading his butt cheeks.
Yeah, Bill Burr's got a real like Boston or New York thing going for
Yes, absolutely.
That's why he was so good in that Pete Davidson movie, The King of Staten Island.
Yes.
You've seen that, I imagine.
Yes, I have.
And I think his mom in that was played by Marissa Tomei, who plays Aunt May in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. That I do think that's her. Yeah. So I'm glad you segued into it because I didn't have much for life updates, so I was just gonna do my SNL corner for the most part.
Fair enough.
That's all I really had. Outside of that, it's just been the usual catching up on stuff. I've made a little bit more progress in the Star Wars. Look, there's 7 seasons of the Clone Wars animated series. I'm gonna be there for a minute. Okay, it's just
Right.
that's where I'm at now, and it's not the only thing I'm doing, so it's gonna be a little bit. Um, Plus, I kind of threw it on the side burner in favor of some other stuff, which you'll find out from my media corner entries in this episode. Um, that's gonna be where a lot of what I've been up to lately gets talked about this time. Um,
Okay.
shit, I can't imagine. I guess the most interesting thing to happen to me lately is that I either got food poisoning or E. coli from McDonald's. I'm not sure which,
Oh, geez.
but
Oh, geez.
I ordered some for dinner one night, and then like later that night, I felt miserable. Like I woke up in the middle of the night, stomach cramps, the kind of which were
Oh,
I'm talking like these are the like, oh god, I'm gonna die stomach cramps, and then just
you got one of them quarter pounders, didn't you?
no, I had a Big Mac and I had no onions on it either, so I don't know
Oof.
because McDonald's
I know.
did.
I read something today that said something about the silvered onions that were on the quarter pounders.
Right, but I didn't have onions, and so it could have been food poisoning. Here's the thing, too, like, um, because my mom was with me, so I ordered for me and her, and I ordered one of those shareable meals that comes with the
Hmm.
2 Big Macs, 2 large fries, and 2 10-piece nuggets. Um, she didn't have any problems. She ate her Big Mac and her fries, but not her nuggets. I ate everything. So my theory is either something contaminated was on my sandwich and I got the E. coli from them, which has
Yeah.
got all the same symptoms as the flu or food poisoning and lasts about a week. Or
Oof.
or I got food poisoning from the chicken nuggets somehow. Um and I'm not sure which, and me saying all this, there goes our chances of ever being sponsored by them, but I you know what? I could um it doesn't matter. Uh, no, the numbers would need to be way higher for that to matter. No one listens to this shit.
Right.
There's like maybe 7 people that actively listen to this podcast, and 2 of them are us. So, uh,
Yeah.
you know, um,
Oh, dude.
what?
So
Yeah,
this random thought. So I out out of nowhere decided to watch some of the special features on the Deadpool and Wolverine
yeah.
Blu-ray the other night, and I decided to watch the movie with the director's commentary. So it was Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds.
Ooh,
So the one of the scenes with the one of the opening scene where where they have got Logan's grave, that was shot in the middle of June, and I forget what they said that what they used with to for snow, but to make it look like it was freezing, I remember them saying that they used Epsom salt.
huh? Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I have found watching Family Guy and South Park DVDs with commentary on that there's definitely a lot to be learned from that.
Yeah, it was pretty
That
cool.
behind the scenes stuff. It makes me, at some point I'm gonna go back and watch a lot of the stuff I've watched. A lot of my favorite movies and stuff with the commentary on, just to see what they have to say.
Yeah,
I think,
I think I need to watch all three Deadpool films with the commentary on.
but yeah, I'm glad that food poisoning reminded you of Deadpool.
I don't know
It
why,
wasn't just
but
stomach cramps, by the way. There was a lot going on there. I felt nauseous, like I felt like I had to throw up all day, and just never
oof.
did. My my stomach const
Oh, that's no fun. That is the worst feeling ever.
yeah, and also like other gross stuff that I won't get into, but yeah,
Oh man.
was happening, and I was in and out of the bathroom
Oof.
all day and miserable at work, so I didn't
Jeez.
realize what it was.
You went to work like that?
I mean, I felt better by the time I had to go to work, but not by a lot, you know. Like I wasn't on the
Right.
floor in the holding my stomach in pain anymore, but
Fair. Okay.
to me that was an improvement, you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll take the nausea over constant agonizing cramps. Um so cuz as annoying as the nausea is, it's not a constant pain. um
No.
so yeah, but I don't know whatever happened to me though. I it could have also just been a stomach bug that came out of nowhere too, because I've been feeling some long-term after effects in the form of congestion and sore throat. So whatever it is, at least I'm good to go now. But for a couple of days this week, I was feeling really shitty, uh, and then just had and then for the past couple of days, I've just had what feels like the common cold. I'm used to it though. I always get my my immune system is fucked up, and I always get some kind of horrendous shit around this time of year. But anyways, so oh, I got the new Zelda game in from GameFly, and I've played a little bit of that.
Oh, have
Um,
you?
I'm not very far in it, so I can't really say much about it yet. I will say though that the the buttons you have to press for switching between the types of shit you want to materialize,
Mm.
it gets a little cumbersome. It's gonna take some getting used to, and I had to figure it out. Like I escaped like the first dungeon in the game and got out to the proper open world, and that's about where I am. And it took me a second to realize that to build a bridge with beds, I have to stack one on top of the other halfway across. There's definitely some geometry puzzle solving to be done here in terms of progression. Just like getting across a gap requires a little bit of thinking. So
Okay.
yeah. Whereas traditional Zelda games are more action games with puzzles, I can tell this one is going to be more of a puzzle game with some action. So,
Right.
but I'm intrigued so far, so I'll see what it has to give me later down the line. I I still haven't played any more Metaphor Refantasio, but I will at some point. I am gonna play more of it at some point before we finish this season, so I could give it a review on one of the episodes this season. So,
Okay.
um, I will do that. Uh, but I do have two games to talk about in my media corner today, and one TV show. So,
Let's say I've
unless you
got
have
I've got a
what's that?
movie and two albums I'm talking
Oh,
about.
well, unless you have anything else for the life updates,
I
then
don't
I
believe
say
I do.
well, that sounds to me like an excuse to skedaddle on over then.
Let's mosey on over.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Okay, everybody, here we are at the Media Corner, the part of the show reserved for news, reviews, recommendations, and sometimes previews. Both of us have three things this time, so we won't lollygag too much. We'll get right into it. But before we do, one thing I forgot to mention on the life updates in my SNL corner, Charlie XCX is hosting tonight's episode. There is one tonight. Um, and, for those of you who are millennials around our age, you will remember her as the girl who did the boom clap song. So, um, yeah. If you're older than us, you probably have no idea who the hell she is. And if you're younger than us, you probably know her from a newer song that we don't know. So, there you go. Um, but also, before we jump into the media corner, I do want to bring up really quickly the unfortunate passing of Tony Todd, horror icon.
Yes.
Um, he
He
was not only
was
he was yet what?
he was death in the Final Destination franchise.
Well, he was
The representation of what death is.
yeah, he was like a mouthpiece for it, but death in those movies was more of a invisible, omnipresent force that fucked with
He
things to set up these
he
Rube
gave
Goldberg traps for them.
he gave off major Grim Reaper vibes though in those movies.
Yeah, I think that was intentional. But Tony Todd was also known. His most famous role was Candyman.
Yeah, he was the original. He was the OG Candyman.
He was Tony Todd, big in horror in general. Like he's just a horror icon. He's done a lot of things.
Yeah.
Also, the voice of Venom in Spider-Man Two. Um,
Really?
the video game.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. We have to give some credit to him. He was also friends with, I guess you could say, friends with James and Chelsea from Dead Meat. They've met him.
Nice.
Although they didn't really know him on like a personal level, they said that like I mean, um, they were friendly, and he would always meant he would always say hi to them at conventions and stuff. Like he would go out of his way to say hi to them.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
he played one of the villains in the CW Flash series. Zoom was a villain in that show, and he did the voice of him. He's played
Okay.
voices in a lot of different video games and stuff. He's been in so many things, but he's definitely a icon in the horror community, and we're big horror
Yes.
fans on this show. So,
Absolutely.
oh yeah, he played in Layers of Fear 2. He plays the voice of like this narrator that's guiding you through the game. Um, which is yeah, I forgot about that one. But yeah, I just I wanted to make sure that we gave a little bit of a spot to Tony Todd at the beginning here because he
Yes.
is yeah, and that's a hard loss if you're a horror fan, and an even harder loss since it came in the same week as another huge disaster. So, uh
Right.
yeah, I was like, thanks universe. I didn't need this right now on top of it. Um so, yeah. Anyways, that's all that's all I'm going to say on that cuz we want to get to the happy stuff. So why don't you go first?
I'm gonna get right to it. The first album I'm talking about is a Broadway musical soundtrack. Uh, I'm prepping myself. I've not so Sarah and I last night after we got home from the hockey game, we got on YouTube and we found a not the Broadway musical, but a a version of the Broadway musical of Wicked. Now, I've known about Wicked for a long time. My dad is a huge fan. He's played some of the songs for me. My top. So here's the soundtrack in its entirety. We've got No One Mourns the Wicked. Great song. Fantastic song. Dear Old Shiz. I That's basically them explaining that's the school that they're going to. But No One Mourns the Wicked. Let's see. They're celebrating that Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, is dead.
Yeah.
And then they basically, from that point on, because Galinda, the nice witch, played by the fabulous Kristen Chenoweth.
Kristen Chenoweth. I thought Ariana Grande played her in the upcoming
No, I'm talking. This is
adaptation.
this is the I'm talking about the Broadway musical.
Oh, okay. Right.
I'm talking
Is
about the Broadway musical.
okay.
Galinda is played by the fabulous Kristen Chenoweth in the Broadway musical, and Idina Menzel plays the role of Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, in the Broadway musical.
Oh, Idina Menzel is very popular in the musical
I
world because I think she was
am
also in Rent, and she's the voice of Elsa, or at least the singing voice of Elsa in Frozen.
yes,
She's the one who did Let It Go.
she was. Yes, she was. Uh but yeah, they basically tell this is Wicked is the untold story of the witches from the Wizard of Oz. These are the events leading up to the Wizard of Oz.
Right, when they were young.
Yes,
Does this take place before or parallel to the Great and Powerful Oz, like the uh,
that I do not know. I have not seen the Great and Powerful Oz, but it is on my list
okay. Oh man,
now more than ever.
you probably should have watched that before James Franco was revealed to be a bad guy. uh,
Yeah, you know.
yeah, now it's
But
gonna
okay,
hit different.
so I'm gonna go down the list of the songs, and I'm gonna name when I get to the my top three, I will go over those. So we've
Okay,
got "No One Warns the Wicked," track number one; "Dear Old Shiz," track number two; "The Wizard and I," track three; "What Is This Feeling?" "Something Bad," "Dancing Through Life." This is the first of my favorite songs on this album. Dancing Through Life. Oh my god. I don't know what I don't know why, but it's one of my favorites, and I it's catchy. It's on my top 3. The next song I am going to play for you the opening of it because this part makes me giggle every time.
okay,
It's track 7, Popular, by Kristen Chenoweth.
Popular, you're gonna be popular. I'll teach you the proper poise when you talk to boys, the ways to flirt and flounce. I'll show you what shoes to wear, how to fix your hair, everything that really counts to be popular.
Elfie, now that we're friends, I've decided to make you my new project. You really don't have to do that. I know. That's what makes me so nice.
I love it. This song is Elphaba and Galinda are roommates at the school that they're going to, Shiz. And the song is basically the her basically giving attempting to give uh Elphaba she's gonna basically attempt to make her popular. She'll give her a
okay,
lesson in popularity, and it's catchy, and it's Kristen Chenoweth, and it's awesome. It's catchy. Next song on the list is I'm Not That Girl by Idina Menzel. Okay, I take that back. I have four I have a top four. The next one
Okay.
is One Short Day by it's Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel. One Short Day in the Emerald City is the opening lyric, and I love this. It's basically an introduction to the Emerald City where the Wizard of Oz is. I love it. It's basically an introduction to the Emerald City. It's awesome. Uh Sentimental Man. A Sentimental Man. This is sung by Joel Grey, who in the Broadway musical is the Wizard. This role will be performed by Jeff Goldblum in the movie. Defying Gravity. This is also on my list of favorites. And this is Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel. This song is Elphaba basically saying, I'm done living the life by following the rules of someone else's game. I'm ready to take charge and be my own person. Standing up for herself and choosing to stop living for others, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's it's an empowering song. And it's another one. It's really catchy. The next one is Thank Goodness. It's Kristen Chenoweth and Carol Shelley. Wonderful. Joel Grey and Idina Menzel. I'm Not That Girl reprised as Kristen Chenoweth. As Long as You're Mine, Idina Menzel and Leo Norbert Butz. So we've got As Long as You're Mine, Idina Menzel and Leo Norbert Butz. No Good Deed by Idina Menzel. March of the Witch Hunters, Christopher Fitzgerald. For Good, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel. And the finale, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel. The soundtrack for the movie cuts off at Defying Gravity, which is the end of Act 1 for the Broadway musical.
Okay.
Wicked Part 2 is scheduled to hit theaters next November
Oh, so they're splitting the movie in half. Got it. Okay.
into two separate acts. Yes.
Makes sense.
I am excited for this. Um so a little off topic but still on topic. Mattel had to pull and recall all of the Wicked toys.
Oh.
Yeah, because the website link on the box was supposed to be wickedmovie.com, but was printed as wicked.com, which leads directly to a porn site.
Of course.
Yeah.
What a not
Oh, that's
great
right. It
mistake to
was
make.
the that's right. It was the that it wasn't all of the Wicked toys. It was the article that I read said it was just the Galinda and Elphaba dolls.
Okay. So, sounds like you really enjoyed this album. Are there any songs on the album you don't like?
Not really. I mean, I really enjoyed the whole thing. Those that four, those four just really stand out.
Or were there any that like you didn't like at first but they grew on you in subsequent listens?
Ah,
Like you like them now, but maybe you didn't the first time around. Or maybe not even dislike but was just indifferent to. Like, it's okay.
no, no.
Okay.
I like it all. Let's just those are the four that just really stood out.
So
And
let's
I'm excited to hear the different versions when the soundtrack for the movie drops, when the movie comes out on November 22nd. Sarah and I are actually planning on going to see this on Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Since her mom is taking my daughter to Disney on Ice at the Wells Fargo Arena.
Okay.
Yeah, give us an opportunity to go out on a date, just the two of us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that'll
Yeah,
be fun.
yeah,
I'm excited.
Disney has been on ice for a while, hasn't he? I wonder when they're going to unfreeze him. So what's your rating for the album overall?
Oh my god, 10 out of 10.
I knew that was coming. Okay. It works. Works for me. I swear to God, you hand out 10 out of 10s like Halloween candy, but it's fine. It's fine.
Dude.
It's fine. Or as Dan would say, Aaron, you know what? That's all right. I don't want to come off like I'm being uptight. you know. Yes. Okay. No, I'm glad that you liked it. It's always a good feeling when you can listen to an album and every song is a banger.
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely.
A rare but good feeling.
I can't say the same about the second album that I'm reviewing here.
Oh, I guess we'll find out.
I've
Well,
got some I've got some yeah,
uh,
issues.
I guess we'll find out when we get there. Well, speaking of magic and fantasy and things that are really gay, I'm I I'm doing a review for a game that I haven't actually finished yet, but I've played enough of it that I'm like, you know what, it's fine because this is like a 40+ hour game, and I'm I don't know, maybe halfway through. I'm far enough in that I can review it, and that is Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I talked about it a little bit before,
Ooh.
but I'm like, okay, now I can actually talk about it. This is a very divisive entry in the series, and I will be honest, it does have some problems, but and I'm saying this because sometimes I take these reviews that I do and I clip them. I clip them from the finished episode and upload them separately on YouTube as standalone reviews. And so
Okay.
for the standalone review of this game that will definitely be clipped later, if you are coming here to this hoping to hear me bash on the game for being woke or whatever and shit like that, or to have any bigoted takes, you're barking up the wrong tree, because that's not what we do around here. In fact, I think
No, definitely not.
those complaints in particular are stupid and from a bad faith place, just Neanderthal brained nonsense.
Abs-
Um,
Fucking cavemen.
right. So, yeah. That being said, though, I do have some complaints. So this is not by any means, this and my final score of the game are not by any means validating the complaints of the moronic bigots, but there are, from someone who's genuinely enjoying the game overall, some caveats, to be honest. Especially
Oh, okay.
especially when compared to previous games in the series. Um, so
Let's hear it.
this is the fourth game in the Dragon Age series. The first one was Dragon Age Origins, then there was Dragon Age 2, and then Inquisition, and now Veilguard. The story of this one picks up 10 years after Inquisition, and I will say, although you don't have to have played Dragon Age Origins or 2 to appreciate this one, I do recommend having played Inquisition and its Trespasser DLC. Um, because there is a pickup in the story here. Much like the story of Inquisition kind of plays off of the Templar Mage War that you start at the end of Dragon Age 2, and then also the evil demon monster from its DLC that it introduced, Corpheus. So, even though you play as a brand new, custom created protagonist in each of these games, there are connections between, what happened in the previous ones, lore wise, and what's happening now. And that's the case here, too. So, it's going to be hard to dance around spoilers for Inquisition here, but all I will say is one of your party members in Inquisition ends up betraying you by the end of that game and revealing themselves to actually be like an ancient elven god known as the Dreadwolf. And so
Okay.
when this game picks up 10 years later, two of the characters from Inquisition, Varric and Lace Harding, have diverted from the Inquisition and started a ragtag group of I don't know what they call themselves. The Veilguard, they call themselves, I guess, but they're a group of people that are basically hunting down the guy that betrayed them and trying to stop him from. He's trying to undo what he did in the past by breaking the veil between our world and the spirit world, which will ultimately let a bunch of ghosts and demons into the real world, and that's not good. So,
Okay. No, definitely not.
so they're trying to stop him, and they recruit the help of your player character in this one, who is known as the Rook. And the character creator in this game, I'm going to compliment this character creator, but I also really hate it at the same time, because if you've heard my thoughts before on these custom character creators and how I feel like they waste my time, and you'll understand after this. This is the most intricate, detailed character creator I've ever seen in a video game. Everything from down like to the shape of your eyebrows, which is something I've directly bitched about not caring about.
Right.
You know,
Customer customization.
like you can change your your waist size, your muscle mass, your chest size, bulge size, eye shape, nose shape, color, everything. There's every color under the rainbow for your hair, for your eyes. You can make yourself as tall or short as you want to be, and then of course there's the typical Dragon Age, because this is a medieval fantasy style game. You get to choose between being a human, elf, dwarf, or Kunari, and then also your class, which is warrior, rogue, or mage. And of course, in typical Dragon Age lore, if you're a dwarf, you can't be a mage, because dwarves can't learn magic. It's just not in their blood.
Right.
Mages are born, not learned in the Dragon Age universe. Like, you're either born a mage or you're not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so you could be, so I'm a human warrior, which is usually what I default to in these games, and I shit you not, I spent 2 hours in the character creator painstakingly going through every detail to make this character look just like me.
Okay.
Yeah. And then later I had to go in and fix it, because I was like, I think I might have made the hips a little too wide and the belly a little too big. He looks kind of clumsy running around the environment. I might need to shrink both of those down a little bit. I was like, I don't know if the gameplay just feels clunky or if I'm being subconscious.
Fair enough.
Not subconscious, self-conscious. And it's funny because, like, I love how much the character I made does look like me. I've sent you a picture, so you know it. Like
Yeah,
he looks just like me, doesn't he? Um,
yeah, he does.
Blue hair and everything.
I said, didn't you make it your profile picture on Facebook?
Yes, I did. But in a way, I like that, but it's also a little bit to the game's detriment too, because unless you design your character to look like they fit into this setting, they will not look like they fit in the setting. My character does not look like he fits in the setting, and it takes me out of it a little bit because I made him look like me. And in previous games, I would usually just go with the default design because I didn't give that much of a shit. But here, I was like, I didn't like any of the default designs, so I made him me. And part of the problem is they have this new weird art style that's almost kind of Fortnite-y that it's a little off-putting for this type of game. Everything looks smooth and shiny, like everyone is made of like, not really, I don't want to say made of clay, but they definitely have this like, there's definitely this like aesthetic to it. Like everything is just way too it's like everything is like smeared in a thin layer of Teflon or some shit, um or like someone put Vaseline over the camera lens. It's just
Ah,
it's just weirdly, yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. There's just a certain aesthetic to it, and it's odd. This is probably the most cartoony looking Dragon Age game that they've ever done. And
really?
I think part of the reason is because originally it was intended to be a live service multiplayer game like Fortnite, and they eventually ditched that idea and made it a single player game. Thank God. But some of the
That
leftover
would have been a huge mistake.
right. Well, and some of the leftovers of that are still there. And what you get out of this overall is, whereas the older Dragon Age games like Origins and Dragon Age 2 felt more like gritty dark fantasy stuff, and the Darkspawn looked like orcs from Lord of the Rings and shit like that, and you were fighting
Okay.
classic monsters, dragons and what have you. This game, granted, of course, it has been like several decades since the first game, both in real life and in the game's lore. Um, so this game feels more like high fantasy, like Lord of the Rings. So like the older Dragon Age games are more, I would say, dark fantasy, like Game of Thrones, more gritty,
Hmm.
more morbid, more dark and violent. This one feels a lot more high fantasy, like Lord of the Rings, but maybe even more whimsical than that. Hey everybody, future editing Oversoul here again. Just want to add real quick that in some context of Dragon Age lore, it does kind of make sense that things would shift as much as they did because, society evolves, right? We have cars now, we don't use horses and buggies anymore, so it makes sense that after so much time has passed, society would evolve in this world too. So, even though they're still in a fantasy setting, now they have some semblance of science and technology and stuff like that, but their science and technology is mixed with magic. So what you have is like floating cities and shit. So it's still fantasy, it's just more high fantasy now rather than like the gritty dark fantasy we're used to. And back then in the Dragon Age series, like, they had slavery and racism, like elves were slaves, mages, if you were born a mage, you were locked in the circle tower, because mages were considered dangerous just for having power. So you were discriminated just because of how you were born. It was very forward thinking for its time. And throughout the series, you actively play a role in putting an end to these types of atrocities in the world and making the world of Ferelden and Tevinter and all these other places and Kirkwall a more mage friendly, forward thinking world, which does end up having its downsides when the huge mage versus Templar war starts in Dragon Age Inquisition, but still. um, those are due to the actions those are due to the actions of one particular radical mage who took things a bit too far. But anyways, so yeah, it stands to reason that, much like real life, things would change over time. And, like I remember in Dragon Age Origins, because, Ferelden is basically the Dragon Age version of Scandinavia, everyone was white. or gray. That was about it. Those were the only skin colors you had. But now you have characters that are black and Asian and all kinds of stuff. And it makes sense. And there's like mixed races too. I'm pretty sure like Kunari and elves have had kids together by this point and stuff like that. So that's why you get these, new weird looking Kunari. Um, but it makes sense because that's just the natural progression of things. And that's kind of how it should be. 50 years later, we've made some progress, right? So it makes sense. Or at least that's my excuse for it. I mean, there's still a lot of dark shit going on here. The Darkspawn are here, but like they look like cartoon characters. They used to look like the orcs from Lord of the Rings, and had that same level of grit. Now they're like, I don't know, their faces are basically just like skulls with red eyes. And I do think that part of it is because the veil between our world and the spirit world has been torn open, and I think it's because demons are merging with other creatures. So I think that's why. I think there is an in-universe explanation for it. In fact, in this game, when you make your character, you can choose the faction that they're a part of, whether they were a Grey Warden, an Antivan Crow, a Blood Dragon, and it explains all of them. But for those who've played the previous games, know that Grey Wardens, and you play a Grey Warden in Dragon Age Origins, they are the this race of warriors that they drink Darkspawn blood, and if they survive, they become a Grey Warden, and they're able to sense Darkspawn and do extra damage against them. And Grey Wardens are the ones who stop what's known as a blight, which is when the Darkspawn show up and try to take over the land. So, and they're led by an archdemon, which is a giant dragon creature. So,
Okay.
I made my character a Grey Warden in this game, so there's certain parts where there is a blight happening too, because there's Darkspawn running around on top of it all, and he mentions a few times that this is not like an average blight like he's seen before. This is something different. So there might be some kind of story. I do like that depending on what faction you choose, what gender your character is, or non-binary, and stuff like that, and your character class and race, it changes, just like in every other game, how the other characters around you respond to you, and even changes mild pieces of dialogue and lore information that you get. Like being a part of one faction gives you more dialogue options with other members of that faction, for example. you know and much like the other Dragon Age and Mass Effect games, this is a dialogue-heavy game where you choose dialogue choices that change the story, and you can romance literally any party member, regardless of your race, gender, whatever, in this game. It's a free-for-all this time around.
Nice.
Inquisition was a little more tightened up. Inquisition had some characters that would only romance one gender or the other. I actually ended up playing as a female mage in Inquisition, because the one character I wanted to romance, the elf girl Sarah, was a lesbian in that game. So,
Okay.
but in this one, everyone is romanceable, regardless of who or what they are. And you get
Nice.
I want to say 7 party members total. So there's a lot to choose from. So yeah, but like I said, seeing all these characters like these elves and dwarves and these assassins and all that talk about war and the Darkspawn and all that, and then my character comes in with his blue hair and his funny looking nose and talking about, hey guys, troddly dee, it just takes me out of it a little bit. It also probably doesn't help that I usually choose the sarcastic or joking dialogue options, which makes him sound like a smarmy asshole. But yeah, it just gives weird faces. Another thing, though, that does kind of take me out of it, though, is because my character, like I said, he doesn't feel like he fits here. He feels like someone from the real world who got sucked into this world and had to adapt to it, you know what I mean?
Jesus, okay.
Like one of those stories. But he's not the only one. There are other characters here, too. A lot of the characters in this, they do feel like they fit, but there's also some that kind of feel less like they belong in this world and more like they're cosplaying in this world. And
Okay.
it's got sitcom-y vibes sometimes. Some of the dialogue is kind of cringe, and I swear to God, there are times where I'm literally expecting a character to turn and look at the camera and be like, well, that just happened. And the music goes, ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, boop. Like, I'm just, like, I'm expecting it. Because it gives off that vibe sometimes. It gets really corny a little bit, but and it's just especially when you compare it to like in Dragon Age Origins, they are all talking this like proper old English shit, like my lord, prithee you give me your time, there are darkspawn coming from the north, all that. And then in this game it's like, yo bitch, what's up, how's it hanging? It's not that bad, but it like the difference feels that disconnected overall. But I am enjoying a lot of this game, though. I enjoy the real-time combat and the different abilities that you get for your characters. I do wish it had an auto level up for the skill trees, because I really don't like putting that much time into it, but it's nice that I can customize it the way that I want. I like a lot of the characters in it, I like where the story's going. I'm having fun with it. There's just a few caveats overall, and the way equipment is handled in this one, it's got that like weird like Diablo Assassin's Creed loot system with the squares that you put your shit in, and it but what I do like is that at your home base you can adjust it so that if you don't like what a piece of armor looks like, because you always want to try to have the best armor and weapons equipped, but sometimes that shit's ugly, so you can actually do this thing in this game where you can have the best stuff equipped, but then make it look like something else. You can have it look like something else. So I just have all of my armor looking like the pre-order armor that I got, the Blood Dragon armor. But I have other stuff equipped. It's called Transmogrify. It's a feature they started adding in RPG games like this, where you can equip the best armor, and if it's ugly, you can just make it look like another armor. You can just kind of hide its ugliness by changing its appearance. So
Interesting.
So yeah, that's a feature that I appreciate. I genuinely think you would like this game. It's very newcomer friendly, but I also feel like you've played Inquisition, so
I don't think I have.
or you owned it or something.
No, never have.
No? Okay. Have you ever played any Dragon
I
Age
don't
game?
believe so. I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Well, then this would be a good jumping in point for you, because this game was designed to be open to newcomers. Now, for someone who's been with the series for a while, that does kind of have a bit of the Kingdom Hearts 3 problem, where the game is holding your hand with exposition and lore dumping and all kinds of shit like that, because, if you're new, you need a lot of that backstory. And for those of us that have already been through it, it's like, yeah. But, it's
Yeah.
it's fine. It only does that for like the first hour or two, and then after that, the game really opens up. You spend all your time. Your home base is this place called the Lighthouse that's in the Fade. The Fade is the spirit world. And then there's these mirrors that you use to travel to different areas of the world to go do quests and stuff. And there will be times where you have to make difficult choices. Like halfway through the Act 1, there's a part where two different cities are being attacked by dragons, and you have to choose which one to go defend. And the one that you don't defend will get destroyed. And when you go there again, it will be in ruins, and you have to reestablish all your checkpoints and shit. And it will affect your relationship with one of your party members, because there's two different one from each of those places. And the one that you don't defend, that party member will get pissed at you and leave the party for a while. They'll come back later, but for a while they'll be unavailable. And they'll be what's known as hardened. In the Dragon Age lore, hardened means that a character, they become emotionally hardened, and and so they become less, they build emotional walls, and they're less open about things, and they show less remorse for like killing people and shit like that. So, there's actually, in Dragon Age Origins, you can harden your party members, Alistair and Liliana, after their personal quests. if you want by your dialogue options. So, but yeah, and I know you like that kind of shit too, where your dialogue matters. And something you'd appreciate about this game is that almost every piece of dialogue has an icon on it that indicates what kind of response you're going to give. There's a thumbs up icon for optimistic, a laughing mask for sarcastic or joking, a knight with cross arms for diplomatic response, a fist for aggressive response, a exclamation point for worried response, and a tear in the eye for emotional response. So,
Hmm.
and like I said, there are times where you have to make choices that will have a huge effect on the story going forward. And from what I've heard, this game has an ending similar to Mass Effect 2, where you have to really get to know all your party members because at the end of the game, you're going to have to send them on different assignments for the final showdown that if you send the wrong person to the wrong place, they could end up dead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is the kind of game where party members can end up dead and stay dead. You know, kind of like an Until Dawn thing, except it's a full-fledged RPG. That's that's what BioWare games are. Is they're like a mixture of like Until Dawn style stuff, but also like like Skyrim or something. So imagine playing Skyrim with Until Dawn style choices and party members that can die permanently. You know what I mean? Like that's what you're getting with Dragon Age.
Makes sense.
So, all that being said, as much as I am enjoying it, as much caveats as they are, it does feel like it is a far cry from its predecessors, but I'm still enjoying it overall. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think would be my rating for it. Um, Yeah, because I don't think I can go high enough for an 8, but I think a 7 is being too harsh. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I'll see what happens or how I feel by the time I finish it, but that's where I stand right now.
Okay. All right. My next thing is Jelly Roll's new album, Beautifully Broken, Picking Up the Pieces. There is two songs on this album that he lost points for
Okay.
because I I'm gonna get this out of the way before I talk about the rest of the album because I have nothing but good things to say about the rest of the album.
Okay.
Fuck MGK. Okay,
Oh,
I used to like his music, not so much anymore. MGK is a bitch. So you know how much I dislike Logan Paul.
right.
SummerSlam this past SummerSlam was hosted in Cleveland, Ohio, MGK's hometown, also Logan Paul's hometown. MGK helped Logan Paul cheat by giving him a set of best knuckles. So I lost a lot of respect for Mr. Colson Baker. So yeah, no, Mr. Roll lost a couple points by collaborating with him. Not his fault that MGK is a shitty person. Just the songs lost some points.
Fair enough.
But let's get rolling on this list.
I
Winning
see what you did there.
that wasn't even on purpose.
Let's get jelly rolling.
But no, his music is awesome. Winning streak. He I A little bit of context behind this song. Winning streak he wasn't sure he was gonna tell the story of how the song came to be, but due to where the origin of the song took place, which it took place at like uh, a meeting for addicts. He he was on his way. He had some time to kill before a recording session, so he decided he wanted to go to a meeting. And there was someone there who, without breaking confidentiality and anonymity, he told the story of how this song came to be. There was someone there who had fallen short and relapsed, but has the desire to change, has the desire to get clean. And
Hmm.
the group organizer, the group leader, said, "You know what? That's okay. Nobody walks through these doors on a winning streak." And this song is so fucking powerful. Anybody who's in recovery, I encourage to listen to this album. It is chock full, or anybody who is in recovery or wanting to get clean, this album is for you. Like this is Jelly Roll's road to recovery. This is his first number one album. We've got Burning as the second track, Heart of Stone. Title song number 4 is I Am Not Okay. This is one of my favorite songs. The lyrics
Hmm.
go, I am not okay, I'm barely getting by. I'm losing track of days and I'm losing sleep at night. I am not okay, I'm hanging on the rails. So if I say I'm fine, just know I've learned to hide it well. I know I can't be the only one who's holding on for dear life, but God knows I know when it's all said and done, I'm not okay, but it's all gonna be alright. It's it's a
Hmm.
deep song. It's his way of saying I kind of relate to this song as well. Like it's cuz when I listen to this song, I look at it as my saying as I'm not okay,
Damn.
but it's all gonna be all right because I gotta stay positive. It's a deep song. The next track is When the Drugs Don't Work, featuring I'm not even sure how to pronounce this. Is that an Ilsey? I don't know. Ilsey? I don't know. Um, that's another deep song. This one, the lyrics go, I know hopeless, I know broken, I know the doors that keep closing, I know high, that's for sure, I know face down on that floor. That sun falls down, it's always gonna rise, and you know that's the way it goes every time. When the high's too high and the low's too low, and you want someone, but you want to be alone, and the drugs don't work no more, who's gonna drive you home? The next song is called Higher Than Heaven, featuring Wiz Khalifa. Track 7, you've heard this one. He performed this one on Saturday Night Live during the season premiere of season 50. Liar.
Oh yeah.
That was it. That he sang that one at SummerSlam as well. For WWE. Everyone Bleeds, Get By, Unpretty. This I have dubbed my absolute favorite song on this album. The lyrics go, been a broken down car on a side street, damn near lost it on a bad week. I was praying for change. How could only 12 steps feel so far away? So many lies I start counting. Trying to walk a straight line felt like trying to move a mountain. And I was praying for change. I would have died if I had stayed the same. I hate the man I used to be, but he'll always be a part of me. Right now, looking at my past, I know it's unpretty. Can't hide the pain that I've been through. I wear my scars like my tattoos. The man who I was wrong, but he's the one who built me. Said I am nothing without my sins. I can't pretend I'm not unpretty.
Damn. Okay.
It's fucking deep, dude. Grace is the next track. What It Takes, Hey Mama, Born Again, Guilty, Little Light, Hear Me Out, Woman, so smiles so much. This is another really deep one. I prayed for calmer waters, God gave me taller waves. I didn't understand it till I wound up finding strength. I kicked rocks at the bottom like tin cans on the street. You name it, man, I fought it. I fought and learned to turn the other cheek. With all the hell thrown at me, a lot of people ask me, how are you so happy? If you've seen the tears I cried, you know why I smile so much. Fought the hate I fight, you know why I try to love. Even when it's hard, even when it's falling apart, if you'd seen the tears I cried, you know why I smile so much.
You know, some of that reminds me of what I think one of the most brilliant lines I've ever heard in a song. One of, not the most, but one of, was actually from a horror song, not a serious one, but I still thought it was really good and kind of relates. The line is, taking off the mask, my behavior is erratic, claiming to be sane, but I'm just asymptomatic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah.
That was from Tune Into the Madness by The Stupendium, by the way, featuring Dan Bull.
Okay. My Cross. What's Wrong with Me? This is another deep one. The lyrics go, it took a real long time for me to see, but I am all right with what's wrong with me. No, I ain't found light, at least now I see that I'm all right with what's wrong with me. Take a Bow featuring Halsey. This is another really deep one.
Ooh. Halsey actually played one of the ladies of the night that go missing in Maxine, the movie I reviewed a couple episodes ago.
Okay. The lyrics go, congratulations, I'm miles away from saving. Miles away again from saving. Guess I'm a fuck up in the making. I guess it's about time that I face it. I almost tasted freedom when the chains were breaking. When you put me right back in your cage, and all and all for your own entertainment. So take a bow. You pulled the wool over my eyes. You promised me the highest of highs, made me feel like I'd never come down. So take a bow. No, the next one after that was Don't Want To, featuring Keith Urban, country music artist Keith Urban. Devil Down, featuring Ernest. Uh, Really Gone, by featuring Russ, and Past Yesterday, featuring Skylar Grey.
Holy shit, there are a lot of featuring artists on this album.
Yeah, two of the songs on this album featuring MGK.
Yeah. Is there a single song on the album that doesn't feature someone?
Yes. Winning
Okay.
Streak, Burning, Heart of Stone, I Am Not Okay, Liar, Everyone Bleeds, Get By, Unpretty, Grace, What It Takes, Hey Mama, Born Again, Guilty, Little Light, Hear Me Out, Woman, Smile So Much, My Cross, What's Wrong With Me. Yeah, that's it.
Damn, I guess
Yeah,
this
there's a
this
lot of featuring artists. There's a lot of collaboration in this album.
what is it like a 30 song album? That's like
Uh, 28 songs.
damn near 30. That's a lot for
28.
that's
That's the
almost unheard
deluxe
of.
edition. That's the
Oh,
deluxe edition.
okay. Yeah,
And
albums are usually like
okay,
15
so
songs.
I'm just gonna mention the names of the songs that featured MGK. Time of Day was a Jelly Roll song featuring MGK. Lonely
Yeah.
Road is an MGK song featuring Jelly Roll.
So it's on both their albums.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that happen before with other artists.
Yep, I've seen it happen too.
Okay.
Completely ignoring the MGK songs. Um, I
Are those the only songs you don't like? Just
yes,
those two? Okay.
those are the only two songs I can't stand.
Separating the art from the artist, though, if it wasn't for him, would you like those songs? Are they still good songs?
Probably,
Okay.
probably, yeah.
All right. So there's a little bit of a dislike bias in
Yeah,
there.
I'm just saying, at this point, I'm just saying fuck MGK.
Fair enough. So what's our overall thought on it? The album, I mean.
This, like I said, at the, like I said at the, like, before I even started talking about everything about it. If this, if this, if you're in recovery, this album's for you.
So what's your rating then? How many points does it lose for these MGKs?
And it loses 2 points.
So it's an 8 out of 10?
8 out of 10, yeah.
Okay. Man, that is a man, you're really great on a curve. That's because you took off a whole point for each song you didn't like on a 28
Yes.
song album. And they got
Yeah.
it's woof. Okay. That is some strong hatred for MGK.
He helped a superstar I can't fucking stand.
No, I've that's fair. I'm just it's also refreshing to hear you give any number but a 10 for a change, so there's that too.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, my next two things are both recommends, so they'll be a little more brief as they're not full reviews. And this one I'm gonna get into. I can't even get into a whole lot of it because I'm not super far into it, but I'm far enough to know that this is a great story, and this is something I know that you were already interested in to begin with, and that is the new Life is Strange game Double Exposure.
Yes.
Um,
How is it so far?
I'm really
I'm
enjoying it.
dying to hear it.
So this game takes place 10 years after the first Life is Strange. It brings back the original protagonist Max Caulfield. So for anyone who wants to play this, I do recommend playing Life is Strange Before the Storm and the original Life is Strange first, just so that you have the original Max and Chloe story. You do not have to play Life is Strange 2 or True Colors, because those are different protagonists, different stories, different places. Same universe, but separate narratives. So, not important to this game or the previous ones, but Max Caulfield from the first game is back in this one as the protagonist. And in the first game, she had rewind powers that would let you go back and like undo things or make different choices and stuff like that. Eventually, you'd have to lock in a choice that would change the story, but you could go back and change your choice as many times as you wanted before moving on.
Mhm.
Well, she has moved on from her rewind powers in this game, but has discovered a new power, the power to rip a hole into reality and travel into an alternate timeline of her own reality. Um so in the beginning of this game, it does let you choose you like re-choose the choices that you made. So like spoiler for the ending of the very first Life is Strange game, but there's a significant choice you have to make at the end of the game. Max's time rewind powers have caused a storm that's headed towards her hometown of Arcadia Bay,
Mhm.
and she has a choice between either saving her best friend and or lover Chloe, depends on how you play them,
Mhm.
or saving the town. Fans call it Bay, BAE, or Bay, BAY, is the choice.
Okay.
Do you save your bay or Arcadia Bay? Um, and if you choose to save Chloe, then the town gets destroyed and most of the people in it die, although there are some survivors. And if you choose to save the town, then Chloe dies. So you
Hmm.
have to pick one or the other, and that's how the first game ends. And in the beginning of this game, when you're talking to your new friend Safi, she asks you about your past, and you get to make choices that determine the ending you chose at the end of the game, whether or not Chloe is alive or dead, and whether or not you were friends or lovers. Um,
Hmm.
and that sets your world state for this game. And so you go through this game, and the story here is Max's new friend Safi. Her and their friend Moses are on up on the observatory one night watching the stars with the new telescope or a meteor shower or something that's happening. And
Mhm.
Safi leaves for a bit, and then Max goes after her after a while. And when she catches up to her, she finds her shot dead on a bench. And this is on the college campus. In the first game, you spent a lot of time on a high school campus called Blackwell Academy. In this game, you spend a lot of time on a college campus because, of course, it's 10 years later and Max is 28 years old now. Um,
Mhm.
so, this is on the college campus. This happens. You find your friend's body. She's shot dead, and the game deals with the rest of that. During a moment of emotion, after talking to her friend Moses, Max hears an echo of Moses's voice coming from somewhere else, and then she uses her powers and sees uh, an echo of him and follows it until she realizes she can rip a hole into another reality where her friend Safi is still alive. And
Mhm.
so then it becomes a very weird. Well, here's the thing: Safi may be still alive in this other reality, but someone is terrorizing her, and and threatening her. So the game then becomes it becomes a murder mystery at this point, but it's a murder mystery with two goals. You're trying to solve Safi's murder in the dead universe while also simultaneously trying to prevent her murder in the living universe. And
Okay.
there are predetermined spots you can walk into where you'll see these like shiny kind of like spark, I don't know how to explain it, like like shimmery, sparkly shit in the air, and you walk into it, and then you can press L1 to open a tear into another reality. But what's interesting is that when you're in one reality, you can actually eavesdrop on the other with the other half of your power. When you're in one reality, you can hit R1 and you'll open up a little void that will let you see silhouettes of the other reality. And you actually have to do this sometimes to move forward. There was one time where I needed to figure out what a character was looking for to move the story forward, and in order to do that I had to eavesdrop on his lackeys. So in order to do that, I had to travel to the other universe first, then go back to where they were standing in the previous one and use the cross universe eavesdrop power to listen to their silhouettes talking. So basically, when you travel between universes, you're like a ghost to the people in the other one that you're not in, and they're like ghosts to you, and you can eavesdrop on people that are in the opposite universe of the one you're currently in, and you actually have to use that to solve a few puzzles and shit and move forward, which I think is a really fucking cool mechanic, if I'm being honest. Like, this is creative as hell, the way they handle this like cross-dimensional universe traveling thing. The way that Max rips a hole into another reality kind of reminds me of Elizabeth from Bioshock Infinite.
Okay.
Yeah, and what's
Such
really
a
cool
good
is
game.
they have a really interesting aesthetic for this too. What I find interesting is that they really play on the whole how things are different in different universes, but there's always constants. So in the beginning, there's 2 romance options in this game, one male, one female, and I chose to go after the female one, Amanda, and and that was in the universe that Safi died. But when I talked to Amanda 2 days later in the universe where she's still alive, Max had asked her out in that universe too, but they're in different responses. In the universe where Safi died, they decided to put the relationship on hold until Max is emotionally available, whereas in the universe where Safi's still alive, Amanda chastises her for not responding for 2 days because, well, she wasn't really there. It's weird, complicated stuff like that shows that although these 2 universes are different, there's some things that are still the same. And the other thing I like is how the universes are handled. The dead universe, because they're literally called the dead and living universe in the game. It tells you which one you're in at the top of the screen. The dead universe has like a blue filter over it, and everything is like dark and plain and dreary, and everyone seems really depressed, and you could just feel the tension in the air. In the living universe, though, there's like an orange sunny filter over everything, and everyone's more happy, and, well, for the most part. And there's Christmas decorations put up everywhere. There's no Christmas decorations in the dead universe, only the living one, because they just didn't find it appropriate to be celebrating after this horrifying death. And this is the kind of, like, if this was a real thing, this is the kind of story that would be on Small Town Murder, because these are all of these Life is Strange games take place in small towns,
Jeez, okay.
But this is another, much like Dragon Age that I spoke of before, this is another forward-thinking LGBTQIA plus friendly game. It's
Awesome.
not like in your face about it or anything, but like Amanda's bar, for example, that you go to has like a rainbow flag hanging up on the wall in the background and stuff. And there's like one of the college professors is a transgender woman, but they don't call attention to it at all. You can just kind of tell that she is. Either that or she has a really deep voice. But I think canonically she is transgender, and it's not something that they are like, they don't go like, oh, did you talk to the trans professor, Gwen? They just call her Gwen. It's just treated normally, naturally, not put on a pedestal, not mocked. It's just, part of a natural part of the world, and that's how representation should be.
Exactly.
That being said, though, where I'm at in the game right now, everyone is suspicious as fuck right now, including Safi herself. And that's what's weird about it. In the living universe where she's still alive, there are other characters telling me things about her that are making her look bad. Where in the dead universe, no one would dare say anything bad about her because she's dead. And she seemed perfectly normal, but there's definitely some suspicious shit going on here. and there's at least two of the professors at the college, Gwen being one of them, that are kind of on my, like, there's something going on with them. Like, they, both in the living and dead universe, there's a couple of characters that are, in my opinion, definitely up to some secretive, shady shit. And that's one of the great things about these Life is Strange games, is because
Mhm.
it's like, it's like if Nancy Drew had paranatural powers, is
Uh-huh.
is kind of, but it's also a little more mature than that, because they're saying fuck all the time. Um,
Mhm.
it's it's so well written, though. Life is Strange. There's really nothing quite like this series. It takes bits and pieces from other things, but it really does stand on its own. And the first game was not a murder mystery, but it was a missing persons mystery. Chloe's old girlfriend Rachel had gone missing in that game, and they were looking into her disappearance, which led into this whole conspiracy of missing girls and a very dirty pervert that was kidnapping them for reasons.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
yeah. And that game used, like I said, you had rewind time powers, and there's a part in that game where you actually rewind so far into the past because of a photo you're looking at that you actually change the future when you come back.
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
yeah, yeah. So it's crazy. I won't say too much about it, but like if you plan on playing this game, I highly recommend going back and playing the first one first, and maybe also the prequel Before the Storm, where you play as Chloe and learn about Rachel. Um, because there is a remastered version of them. It's the Life is Strange remastered collection, and it comes with Before the Storm and the first game for, like, I want to say $20 on the PlayStation Store.
That's not
Or
bad.
or I think it's normally like 30 or $40, but it goes on sale for $20 a lot. So that's when
Okay.
I got it, it was on sale. So like for like $20. So yeah, it's not bad at all. I highly recommend that. My One of my big problems with this one is this is already kind of a full price game. The base version is $50, which is fine because this is a much longer, bigger, more ambitious game in the series. But they hide a bunch of content behind these upgraded versions. There's the deluxe edition, which has a couple of costumes, and fine, whatever. I don't care about that. But if you want the cat content, you have to have the ultimate edition, and they knew what the fuck they were doing here too, because the Venn diagram between the type of people who play this game and the type of people who love cats is almost a goddamn circle. Um, be, Tell me I'm wrong. And so if you want, basically in chapter 2, Max will get visited by a stray cat and that she takes care of, and you can choose whether or not to find its original owner as a side quest or keep it for yourself. And that is an extra 20 goddamn dollars if you want that, which kind of irritates me. I am a
Jesus
bit
Christ.
I didn't get it that at first because I'm like, I'm not paying $80 for a Life is Strange game. You must be out of your fucking mind. But now that I have it, and like I finished chapter 1, and right as chapter 2 started, it shows a picture of Max holding the cat, and it's like, look at how cute the kitty is. You want this DLC, don't you? Don't you? If you want it, you have to get it now. If you start this chapter without it, you'll have to start a new game in order for the cat to show up. And I'm like, you manipulative sons of bitches. Um, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not getting it right now. I'm gonna finish the game as is because I already started chapter 2, but I do want to get the platinum in this, which will require a second playthrough anyways because of the you have to have both a Bay and Bay world state, finish the game both ways, and
Mhm.
both the romance options and shit like that. Um so I will reluctantly pay the $20 eventually to get the whole thing. Plus, there's 2 trophies tied to the cat shit as well. So, um,
Fair enough.
but uh, I I'm gonna feel really dirty about it when I do it. Like I'm gonna buy it reluctantly, but I don't blame the developer for that though. That's a publisher choice. Publishers make those decisions, and this Square Enix is the publisher of this one, and much like Ubisoft and EA, they're known for shitty business decisions sometimes. So,
Yeah.
um, So yeah. But overall, I could not more highly recommend this game if you're into murder mysteries and shit where characters have like supernatural powers, and just the whole idea about like solving a murder by traveling between two parallel realities is like awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, these games are very hipster, and there's a lot of millennial lingo. So there's that too. You feel right at home if you're our age. So, um, yeah. Oh, and the photography. There's a lot of optional snapshots you can do in this, and the camera has way more controls than it did in the previous game. It is like, and you can post all the pictures you take to this in-game social network called Crosstalk, which is kind of cool. And go on there, read posts. There's text messages you get from other characters that you can sometimes respond to, stuff like that. So, and your journal actually tells you where the collectibles are in this game, the ones that you don't have yet. Tells you like what date and what location to find them, and they're basically just Polaroids laying around that you can pick up. But yeah, you would enjoy this. You would definitely enjoy this, but I would highly recommend playing the original and its prequel first, if
Okay.
you can. So just to get that original Max and Chloe relationship in
Yeah.
your, you know. So, all right, and your final item of the evening.
So this is a Netflix original movie. It is a horror film called Time Cut.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Lucy, a modern high school senior and amateur inventor, accidentally finds a time machine and travels back to 2003, the year her sister was murdered by an unknown serial killer. Now torn between solving the mystery that has undone her parents and her hometown, saving the sister that she never knew, and irreparably altering the future and her own existence, Lucy must decide how to stop the slasher, save her family, and blend in to 2003.
Huh. That sounds very intriguing.
So Sarah was reading her one of the book that I had gotten her as a late anniversary present. Um, and I caught her watching a little bit of it because because it's a TV-14 rating. A lot of the killings happen off screen, and it's more of a mystery to figure out who the murderer is.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, that's
So
actually a good segue from the last thing I talked about. Which, by the way, Life is Strange, same way. It's not super in your face violent. It's more about the murder. It's more about the mystery behind the murder than the
yeah,
murder itself.
it's so I really liked this. It was there's I'd have to say they could have done a little bit more with it. This is the first time traveling horror film that I am aware of.
Huh. So we've got a reality hopping murder mystery and a time traveling murder mystery.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, without spoilers, do you get satisfying answers by the end of it? Do you get the closure you're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it
Yeah, you do.
is it a predictable outcome or is it genuinely surprising?
It's a predictable outcome, but
Okay.
it's satisfying based on um based on the time traveler's attitude towards the situation.
Fair enough. You said this is a Netflix original.
Yes.
Does it have
It's
any
called.
does it have
Huh?
any known faces in it, or is it mostly like,
Let's look at the casting list.
B list? I mean, if it didn't have anyone you didn't immediately recognize, then that kind of answers my question.
No, I don't recognize anybody in this.
Time cut, right?
Yeah, it's called Time Cut.
Ooh, it's got a 5 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah,
Madison
it
Bailey.
did
Okay,
not
yeah,
do
I'm not.
well.
I do not think
Yeah,
I am
no,
familiar with the people. Well, I guess I do know the main. I do know the main girl from Black Lightning, but that's it.
yeah, Lucy. She's the time traveler.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. It it was an original idea, and I didn't. It wasn't horrible. I just think they could have done more with the killings.
Fair enough.
Like if I'm gonna see an original horror movie idea, I want to see some more action. I don't want that shit to be off camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. That's actually that's actually a good point for the thing I'm going to talk about next. But okay, what would you rate this?
I'd give it a nine. No, 8.5. 8.5 out of 10.
Okay, okay, fair enough. It does sound like the plot is intriguing. I kind of want to see it.
It is interesting. It is good. I think you would like it.
Okay. All right, so really quickly, my final thing, it's another recommendation, and this is for. I'm going to say recommend because I haven't finished the first season yet, but I've been binging the hell out of it. I'm pretty far in. This is the show on Max called Penguin. And this show is a direct continuation slash spin off of the Robert Pattinson Batman movie, which
Really? Okay.
which like I'm always saying taste is subjective and all that, but I still stand by the fact that I think you need to give that movie another shot. I think like I'm sorry, but you are objectively wrong about that one. That is like you got to be the only person I know who didn't like it. It's one of the best Batman movies that we've gotten in a long time. Maybe not so much in the Batman portrayal itself, unless you understand the Batman Year One comics, but that may be the only thing is that we're just not used to a younger, wet behind the ears Batman, and that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to do early Batman when he's still getting his footing, and that
Got it.
yeah,
Okay.
that's Year One Batman. He's pretty early on, and
Kind of like Batman be was it kind of Batman
begins.
Batman Beyond?
Oh yeah, well, no, it wasn't Batman Beyond the animated series sequel to the original animated series.
I think so.
Maybe, maybe not. This would be more equivalent to Batman Arkham Origins, I would say. Um, is that is the Year One? But I think what they were really trying to do with the Robert Pattinson Batman is they were trying to do the Year One comics, which is Batman's first. Well, it's called Year One for a reason, you know.
Right.
Um, so I think that's what they were trying to do with that. That being said, though, you don't have to have seen or even appreciated that movie to see or appreciate this show because it definitely stands on its own and even takes on a completely different vibe. In fact, this show is about as violent as that movie should have been. And that's literally the only thing I didn't like was that they held it back by making it PG-13 so more people would go see it. But those scenes, the Riddler in that movie was basically a mixture of Jigsaw and the Zodiac Killer, and if they had gone with a hard R like they were supposed to originally, we would have gotten much more violent versions of like that scene with the rat trap, for example. Um, so and Paul Dano did a great job playing the Riddler in that movie. That is what the Riddler is supposed to be like, not the cartoony Jim Carrey bullshit. That's the Joker's job. That's what the Joker is in the Batman universe. And there are others like him too. But if you've ever played the Batman Arkham games, the Riddler is smarmy and shit, but he's basically Jigsaw. He makes traps and puzzles and shit. Like that's what he does. So he puts people in torture devices. So I would say that movie had the most accurate Riddler portrayal I've ever seen in live action. And so, yeah, I liked everything about that movie. It also had the best Batmobile ever. But speaking of which, you may remember there was a car chase scene in that movie between Batman and the Penguin. The Penguin in that movie was played by Colin Farrell, who did a fantastic job, and he reprises his role in this show. This show does play off some things, like the flood that happens at the end of the movie has caused major devastation for a lot of like the slums of Gotham, and that gets played on in this show a lot, especially with one of the characters. But yeah, so picking up not long after the movie, Maroni Falcone is dead. This show basically picks up with Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin, murdering his son Alberto and then trying to fix his derailing life from there. It is he catches these kids trying to lift the rims off his car, and he ends up recruiting one of them as his little sidekick. And this kid named Victor, he lost his family in the flood that happens in the movie, and he's got a real tragic backstory, so the Penguin kind of takes pity on him and makes him his little sidekick. But yeah, whereas the Batman was a gritty superhero movie, this show, the Penguin show, is very much a like crime drama, I would say. Very similar to like a it's like part crime drama, part like gangster story. I would say it's like a mixture of like Goodfellas and The Wire, in a lot of ways.
Okay.
There's a lot. It's very gritty, very down to earth. I'm talking like there's a torture scene where they're cutting someone's arm off with piano wire in this.
God damn. Okay.
Stuff like that. There's a lot of murder happening. It's basically the premise of this show is Penguin playing the gang families of Gotham against each other so that he can come out on top. He's very much a sniveling. He's like Saul from Better Call Saul, but even more sniveling, and
Jeez.
he plays it so well in this because he's a man that's out for his own needs, and he always knows the right thing to say. He can talk his way out of any situation. Anytime the plan goes south, he's always got a backup plan for it. Like, this is a show where you're rooting you're rooting for the villain. Everyone sucks here. Like, they're all bad guys, but you're rooting for him, the Penguin, regardless. And what I like is that this show does manage to stand alone. It doesn't hang on being part of the Batman franchise. In fact, I'm like 7 episodes in. They've never even said the name Batman once. He hasn't shown up. They haven't done anything to like tie it in. It stands on its own as a gritty crime drama that just happens to take place in Gotham. Almost kind of like the Joker movie,
Nice.
as it's kind of like, there's tie-ins, sure, but it's not relying too heavily on that. It's not leaning too much on it. It stands on its own. You don't have to have seen the movie in order to know that a flood happened, because they tell you.
Right. Speaking of Joker,
Yeah.
I'm wondering when the new Joker movie is going to be hitting streaming services.
Yeah, I'm interested in checking it out because I've heard that this sequel did not do as well as the original. But, so here's the thing about Penguin. I definitely, I'm super into it. The show is intense. It's got me, the story has me hooked. It's dragging me in. Like, I'm always like, oh fuck, how is he going to get out of this one? And then there's like his sidekick, Victor. You really feel for this kid, you want him to succeed, too. and there's so much going on there. You get backstory on the other characters. Falcone had a daughter named Sophia that got locked away in Arkham for 10 years. And so there's a lot of episodes that are kind of like flashbacks where they give you backstory for the characters before moving back to the
Uh-huh.
present. It does that quite often. But I'm super into it though. Like just the way every episode ends, like they're in for it now. Oh, the guy that plays Hank in Detroit Become Human is in this too. Is one of the crime family leaders. Um,
Okay.
it's really good stuff. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and yeah, like I said, I like how it stands on its own. It's just even though I'm highly recommending it to the audience, it I make it a cautious recommend to you personally because I know, even though I do, you probably should give it another chance. I know as it stands right now, you didn't really like the movie the show is based on, but it's not, it's not like the movie at all. It's a completely different beast. It doesn't even, it doesn't
Okay.
even feel like it's from the same genre, Like if this wasn't about the Penguin, it would just be any other crime drama, like on HBO. Like this is an HBO show, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Um, and it but the other part that makes it I feel like a hard recommend is that there's definitely some parts of it that feel very reminiscent of shit like like Goodfellas, Untouchables, Godfather, and I know you're not a big fan of that like mafia crime stuff, and this show is like literally about three crime families going at war with each other and Penguin trying to exploit it. Like that's it very
Mm.
much is a crime drama, but it's not like old school gangster. It definitely takes place in the modern day, but it is still very much a gangster show. I mean, the Penguin talks with a heavy Brooklyn accent, like instead of first he says foist, shit like that.
Mm.
um, so I would say definitely give it a shot, but maybe go into it with some cautious optimism. See how you feel after 2 episodes and whether or not the story hooks you. Because you may not like that. You may
Right.
not like that aspect about it, but I know you like a good like thrill ride too. And this show is a thrill ride from start to finish. Like it doesn't slow down at all. It's just constant tension throughout the whole thing. So like someone's always in danger of getting shot, stabbed, or something here. You know what I mean? Like this is a crime show. There is constant
Mm.
crime, nothing but crime happening constantly. Like I'm
Right.
talking about like someone killing their entire family with by gassing the house, like so that they can be the new leader of their clan. That kind of shit. Like people backstabbing each other left and right. Um, in a very Breaking Bad or Sopranos kind of way. So, um, but I do highly recommend it. I'm not gonna give it a rating though, right now. But if I did so far, it would be a 9 out of 10. Honestly, I think it's very well done. And Colin Farrell, man, you can barely even tell it's him. All that makeup and the accent and the walking with the limp, you can, man, he really becomes the Penguin in this show. Um,
I believe it.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you look at Colin Farrell normal, and then you look at a picture of him as the Penguin, not at all the same. It's yeah. Um, so but it works. He does great. He is the show. I mean, he's really he carries it. He carries it very well. And I love his dynamic. He's got good chemistry with the kid who plays Victor in the show. He's, because he's like his sidekick. He'll like leave the apartment. He'll be like, stay here and all that. And as he's like walking out the door, he'll turn around and be like, if you do anything stupid, I'll sense it, and then before he leaves, just shit like that, I love it. Because he's always like, we're cool, but he's always reminding him, like, don't forget who's the boss here, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, it's weird to explain. It's not like, obviously, you don't want a crime lord as a role model, but the Penguin weirdly makes a good role model for him in this movie, like a not really role model, but more like motivator, I guess you could say. Like he does the old, he does the old Italian mafia thing where he like, he grabs him by the face and he's, hey, look at me in the eyes. He's like, I believe in you, kid. That kind of shit. So yeah, It's got a lot of that. It's got a lot of the you know Italian family tough love kind of shit going on there. Um, that also Oswald Cobblepot's mom, the Penguin's mom, is in this, and that shines a lot through her. Every time he starts feeling like a failure, and he's like, I don't know if I can do this, Ma, she'll slap him and be like, Hey, I didn't raise no pussy, shit like that. So yeah, so you can kind of get the vibe that it's going for. This is definitely a TV MA show. It's violent. There's a lot of F bombs. You can hardly tell. If it wasn't for Colin Farrell playing the Penguin, you wouldn't know this was a spin-off of that movie. So but I do highly, highly recommend it. So
Okay.
and that will be it for the media corner for this episode, our fine, fine folks.
Yeah.
And we will see you in the topic.
We're doomed! Doomed! Doomed, I tell ya!
All right, everybody, here we are at the topic. As previously mentioned, we'll be talking about dystopian future media. And just to be clear about what that is, dystopian future media is situations, they can be apocalyptic or not, where it's basically a society that's being ruled by a totalitarian regime in some kind of way. There's definitely like an overlord, a king, a tyrant, overseeing everything and putting their civilians through absolute hell. Dystopian movies can be apocalyptic, but not all dystopian movies are apocalyptic, or stories in general, because it won't just be movies. But I think the best way to kick it off would be to talk about one of the most popular dystopian future franchises ever, Hunger Games.
Yeah.
It's dystopian because everyone is broken up into districts. They're forced to fight each other to the death for the entertainment of the rich and privileged. It's very dystopian.
Very much so.
That's kind of more or less like. Hunger Games is probably the shining example of a dystopian future. Like that's like the prime example right there.
Yeah.
I never read the books, but I am a fan of the movies. I do like them. I can't lie. I enjoy them. It's the concept of a killing game isn't new, but this was a killing game for kids.
Yeah.
A young adult novel. Yeah. I also it's loosely based
Pretty
on
dark.
a Japanese story called Battle Royale, that's where the term for games like Fortnite and shit comes from. Battle Royale is the whole like everyone is fighting to the death, last man standing wins. That's the whole concept of a battle royale, and that's what Hunger Games is.
Sense.
When you're playing Fortnite, you're basically playing a video game version of Hunger Games, really.
Yeah.
When you think about it. Do you like the Hunger Games, Nick? Do you like those movies? Really? Huh.
I never really got into them.
Well, it was how I discovered Jennifer Lawrence, and I've been a fan of hers ever since.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I forgot that was her at first, but okay. Well, let's discuss some other dystopian young adult series like that. That was other, as much as I like the Hunger Games, I think the Maze Runner is actually probably better. And I really like that.
To be honest, I haven't seen any of the Maze Runner films.
I will say only the first one is the one that I really like. I really like the first Maze Runner movie. I'm not a huge fan of everything that comes after, because then it starts being less dystopian, more apocalyptic. But the first movie is basically like this kid wakes up in this unknown area where it's just him and a bunch of other boys that have been trapped here, and surrounding them is a huge labyrinth, and they're trapped here being watched, and every day the doors to the labyrinth open and they send people out to try and find an exit or escape or whatever, but they have to get back before the doors close again because there's something or some things in the labyrinth that is hunting and killing them. If they go in there, and it's more of a problem at night. So basically, they can escape where they're trapped if they can find their way through the labyrinth, but the labyrinth is being guarded by these monsters that they have to also try to bypass. So,
Okay.
but the whole thing is taking place in a testing facility inside a world that has been destroyed. Like they're, because when they do get out and in the future movies get to the world proper, it gets more apocalyptic. It's like an empty, a lot of sand. um, but yeah, but the first Maze Runner is really good, and it's got Will Poulter in it, the eyebrows kid. So what about Divergent? Have you ever seen Divergent? I've only seen the first one.
I've seen all three of them.
Okay,
I don't remember a whole lot.
that is fair enough. Um,
It's been a while.
but yeah, I just wanted to make sure. Well, those three movies usually get combined a lot because they're all like dystopian movies that are based on young adult novels. Um,
Yeah.
so, um, but shifting gears a little bit here, I want to talk about a couple of video games. One of the ones I've mentioned a lot is Bioshock, which I think
Yes.
technically counts. Um, because at least the first one counts because although it's not really a dystopian future for the world, it is a dystopian hellhole for the people in Rapture down below the water. Um, After everything that's happened. Um, but I've doted on that game so many times on this show, and I've gone into so many details, I'm not going to do it again, but it's worth mentioning. I will, however, talk about this game called We Happy Few, which is very Bioshock like. And this one is
Yes.
the prime example of a dystopian future because We Happy Few takes place in a future where everyone is being heavily watched by the police and the Big Brother and, all that. And they are force feeding people these happy pills because the world around them is a shithole. It's a slums, it's a garbage dump, all that. So in order to make the public compliant and happy, they feed them these pills called joy, and joy is just a blissful drug that makes you see all of the horrifying, nasty shit as happy shit instead. You know, and it's really like one of the most interesting scenes in the game is in the beginning when your character decides to break free of this hellhole and not take their joy. So as you're escaping the place that you work at, you come to this place where everyone's having a birthday party and eating some cake, and the last joy you took is still going. But as it starts to wear off and the blissful fake universe disappears from your vision, all those happy people eating cake turns out to be a bunch of homeless people eating a dead rat. And that's when you start to see the reality of
Jeez.
this world, you know? So this is a world where everyone is kept subservient by being drugged up, and made to think that things are happier
Man.
than they are, you know? And
Jeez.
and everyone is forced to wear these masks that have smiley faces on them. You can't take the mask. No frowning allowed in this world. It's illegal to be unhappy in this future. So
That's messed up.
yeah, and these masks, they don't really do much for making people look happy. They just make everyone look horrifying. They're like very unsettling giant clown smiles, basically, um, on these fucking, theater masks. It's really creepy, is the word. And that's kind of the point, honestly. So yeah, that's a good example. We Happy Few. Now, Nick, you've actually played some Cyberpunk 2077, and I haven't. I know you probably haven't played a lot of it, but you've played more than I have, which is zero. So,
Uh,
you know.
I've played a little bit, yes.
But this is a dystopian future game because this is a story where people are like splicing themselves up with cybernetic parts and shit, and it's like it's a cyber, well, it's in the name, cyberpunk, but
I would say you can customize your character down to the genitalia, size and shape.
yeah, which is the case for Dragon Age that I mentioned earlier too, for breast and bulge size, but or both if you prefer. uh
Right.
yeah, but that is an option, but no, I mean, in this game though, this is a very like Blade Runner type universe where it's like a technology universe, but it's one of those technology universes where everything is still shitty. It's still slums. It's still garbage time. It's just like, oh, now the slums have neon everywhere. That's the difference, and people are half robot. You know, but it still feels like, because I guess the best way to explain why Cyberpunk, even though I haven't played it, why Cyberpunk is dystopian is because of the corporation, and the big corporation in the game, Arsaka. Is that what they're called? Something like that.
I don't remember. It's been a minute since I picked it up.
But they're the one responsible for manufacturing the parts. And there's a song by the Stupendium about Cyberpunk 2077 that is basically about how the company owns everything that you do, all the way down to your thoughts, uh, and your social media feed, all that kind of shit. And there's a lot of parallels to real life, which is kind of scary. But it's one of the lines in the song is, "We know what you own, and we own what you know." you know, so it's in the chorus. So I think that right there kind of exemplifies it. It's called "The Data Stream." That's the name of the song. Um,
Okay.
and it says, let's see. I'm going to find a really good one. Oh, so this is what the chorus says. It says, "We're the light in your screens, we're the lead in your veins, then you wake from your dreams so we can sell them again. In the light we distract with the shiny and new, so you're blind to the fact that the product is you."
Huh.
Yeah. Now that is basically Cyberpunk 2077 imagines a dystopian future where corporations have taken over. Then we are now at the mercy of our corporate overlords. Um,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure this company that sells you these cybernetic enhancements can take them away just as fast as they gave them to you. Uh,
Yeah, I would assume so.
and you know what other dystopian future thing that reminds me of?
Huh.
Repo, the genetic opera.
Okay. Yeah.
You know this one. I know you know this one.
Yeah.
It's talking about musicals and shit earlier. Here's a musical that I really like. Repo the Genetic Opera, folks, takes place in a dystopian future that also feels kind of like 14th century Gothic at the same time. Um, but it's about a future where when your body parts start going bad, a loaner company, loan sharks for organs, basically can give you a new heart, new spine, new eye, whatever you need. But if you fall behind on your payments, the repo man is gonna come get you. He's gonna come take that body part back by force. And if it's one you need to live, well, I guess you're paying with your life. Um,
Yeah, pretty much.
this is also a uh, weird cybertech future where everyone is addicted to a drug of some kind that they're all getting high on and going nuts for. And yeah, I that one that's one that I really like. You I know you've seen Repo the Genetic Opera. Do you want to share a few thoughts on that one?
I don't remember much about it.
Really? Oh, you should rewatch that sometime. Just for funs. It is,
Yeah.
it's such a good one. Well, here's something that you probably do remember. Wall-E. This technically counts, the Disney movie Wall-E.
Yeah.
Or I guess I should say it properly. Wall-E. So the reason this one's dystopian, it is apocalyptic because Wally is on Earth, uh, trying to. I think he's got that plant that he's trying to come back with.
Yeah.
Earth is pretty much fucked. All the humans that are alive live on a space station, but that's why it's dystopian, is because they're all basically living in what I would consider a fate worse than death. They just lay around eating and watching TV all day and doing literally nothing else. And they're basically slaves to a machine. And that is pretty fucking dystopian, if you ask me. I would say that counts.
Yes.
I would say that counts. I'm sure it's been a while since you've seen Wally, but you remember it, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Wally,
I remember it.
Wally was a good one. I've thrown out a few examples here, but why don't you toss an example out if you can think of one of any?
In time?
Oh, with Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one where they use time as currency, and it's poor people don't have a lot of time left, and rich people have all the time in the world. Yeah, I would say that counts. That definitely counts, because when you run out of time, you die.
Exactly.
You're basically using your life as a wage here. It's some good commentary in that movie. It's very creative.
Yeah, it's like modern day. It was like a futuristic look at um a futuristic take on Robin Hood.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Um. Okay. Uh. Do you have another example of dystopian future?
Uh,
It can be a movie, a game, a TV show, a book.
I don't know. Mad Max?
Mad Max, yep, that would count. I would say the newer ones definitely count. Although it's more apocalyptic. It is dystopian apocalyptic because there is, like a warlord that kind of oversees everything, and there are lower class people that are suffering due to lack of water and stuff like that. So,
If you
absolutely.
want to get technical, this can't. Deadpool and Wolverine kind of has a dystopian feel to it, as far as like more specifically the Void.
Yeah,
Because in the Void, if you're not food for Eliath, you work for.
for Cassandra.
Yep.
Yeah, less of a dystopian future and more of a dystopian alternate reality, or a reality
Yeah.
outside of realities with their complicated multiverse shit. But yeah, um, but yeah, I get where you're going with that, and I agree. That definitely fits. I would actually say then, to that regard, Logan is probably a dystopian future movie in a lot of regards. I mean, the X-Men are all but extinct in that movie. They're being hunted down by these other forces. It's children who are mutants are being captured and caged because they think they're dangerous. So I
Yeah.
I would say superhero dystopian for sure in a lot of ways. Um some other quick examples, not to get into a lot of details, but like the Matrix would count because a lot of people are basically trapped in a cyber universe, and that's the movie that started the conspiracy theory about us living in a simulation. So, um, so that's why I would count it. It's also where the term red pilled came from, because some idiots take it to the wrong way.
Red
um,
pill, blue pill.
yes. So I would also say, Minority Report would count because that's in a future where they use technology where they have these psychics or whatever they are hooked up to a machine where they can see the future, they can see future crimes before they happen, and when they see these futures, it's recorded into an orb that gets sent to the police, and they see it on the screen, and then they go arrest the person before they can even commit the crime. And getting arrested for a crime that you haven't even committed yet, but you intend to commit it, it's a morally ambiguous dystopian thing. You know, 'cause it's like, you know, in a way, it's kind of like, well, they're saving people from being potential victims of the crime, but at the same time, you can't really punish someone for something they haven't actually done. So it's very,
Yeah,
you know, that's dystopian as fuck. um,
it sure is.
you know, that's dystopian in like the police state kind of way. Is what they're looking at there. There's different ways you can go about dystopia, as you can see by the examples we're using here. There's different ways this can go.
Uh-huh.
Isle of Dogs is technically a dystopian movie because it just imagines a world where dogs took over. You know, um,
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. Yep, that's another great example. That's also very dystopian. Idiocracy is a comedy dystopian movie, which basically it's a sci-fi comedy who follows a man who wakes from a hibernation experiment 500 years in the future and finds himself in a society run by corporations, which sounds a lot like current day, but the humans he encounters are dumber than ever, not required to be intelligent or in shape to survive. And
Interesting.
that came out in 2006. Uh, and of course, I guess you can't talk about dystopian stuff without mentioning George Orwell's 1984, basically the story that started it all with the dystopian stuff. But he wrote that book in in 1949 as a warning about the future. And that's why he called it 1984, because he thought that's where we were going to be then. He might have been a couple of decades off, but that's kind of where we are now. I think he was about, 20, 30 years early, but we did get there eventually. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, so he definitely predicted that. Also, like, there's been pretty much all kinds of, like, our favorite shows like Family Guy, Simpsons, shit like that have all done like a dystopian future or apocalyptic future episode in them. Worth mentioning, Rick and Morty deals with that kind of shit all the time. It's just like a part of their thing. A Clockwork Orange, Blade Runner, these are also good examples of dystopian future movies. Cloud Atlas, I think I've seen that one. Cloud Atlas is actually based on the book Atlas Shrugged, which is also what BioShock is based off of, so it makes sense that those would both be on that list.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say Atlas Shrugged also falls under there, but I don't want to give that book any credit because of who wrote it. uh, Technically, a lot of Final Fantasy games are dystopian futures. You've played some of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. That feels kind of dystopian to me. It's a world where the Shinra Corporation runs everything. The people living in the slums are living a shitty life. You know, they don't even get to see the sun because of the plates covering them where the rich people live up above. You know,
Right.
I would say Final Fantasy VII counts with all that in mind.
I can agree with that.
You know, it's a very mainly because of how Shinra's running everything. The Deus Ex games count, you know, the Metro games, I would count those. Danganronpa. The Danganronpa games that I like, I would count those. Because they take place in a sort of apocalyptic world where despair has taken over and everyone has gone to war with each other and destroyed the world themselves. And and meanwhile you have the people who are running things have kidnapped the world's icons, the people who are supposed to be symbols of hope, and forced them into a killing game where they are, forced to kill each other in a high school to survive. And it's being broadcast to the world outside to cause even more despair and drive them further into depression and be like, this is what happens to people who rebel, people who rebel against us. This is the torture that they'll receive. So, you have an evil group of people running everything, causing mass destruction, and broadcasting the deaths of the people who stand up against them for the whole world to see, so that everyone is deterred from standing up against them. That sounds like some tyranny to me. That's definitely dystopian. That is a dystopian future scenario right there for sure. Out of the frying pan into the fire, as they say. Also, I guess Warhammer counts. Warhammer, Fallout, Half-Life. Horizon Zero Dawn uh
Yeah.
also kind of counts because Horizon Zero Dawn is it's post apocalyptic where our society already destroyed itself because of technology and stuff, but um but society has rebuilt as basically like they're the people are like tribal Neanderthal types, but they have access to
Mm-hmm.
old technology, so it's like cavemen with technology sort of, and all of the
Okay.
dinosaurs and shit are robots. So it's kind of like post apocalyptic dystopian in a way. It's like the world has started over, like evolution started over from the beginning with cavemen and dinosaurs, but now there's old world technology mixed into this new evolution as well. That's why the dinosaurs are robots and shit. So
Makes sense.
yeah, yeah. Um uh oh shit, I had another one just now. It was on the tip of my tongue and it left. Oh, Freedom Wars. It was a PS Vita game I played a while back. It's very similar to a Monster Hunter type game, but
Uh,
it's very similar to Monster Hunter gameplay wise, but in this game you actually are a prisoner in this huge complex prison facility. It's like city, like the whole city is a prison, and in order to earn your freedom you're forced to go out with these other groups of people and fight these monsters. You have to do different quests, kind of like Monster Hunter, but in this you're fighting for your freedom. That's why it's called Freedom Wars. um that one also I think falls under the dystopian type of situation. So um
yeah.
yeah, so let's see. We talked a little about movies and video games. Let me see if I can find a couple of examples of TV shows. The Handmaid's Tale, the one that everyone's worried that we're going to become now. That's probably the most prime example of a dystopian future, because that show and the book it's based on imagines a future where women don't have rights again, and we've reverted back to them being like handmaidens and shit, hence the name, and why they're all
Jeez.
dressed up in like those robes and bonnets like it's the 1800s. Um, so yeah, that's a good example. Westworld, that show that was on HBO for 3 seasons, that's another good
You
example.
know, I thought that that was a dystopian future show, and I guess I second guessed myself.
Nope, you're right. It is. Westworld counts. Have you seen Westworld?
I've seen bits and pieces, yeah.
It's a good show. I haven't seen all of
It
it, but
is.
what I did see is good, and yeah, that definitely counts, especially when you consider all the robot shit. I guess considering that, we should probably also say Detroit Become Human, the video game. That counts
Yeah.
as a dystopian future because like it's all about androids starting to gain humanity and human feelings and becoming human. And it takes place in a future ruled by technology and a corporation who makes these androids, who seems to hold all the power. A lot of one of the biggest running themes in dystopian futures in pretty much every story is that like one man or one corporation holds more power than a fucking president or some, like that's kind of one of the big aspects of dystopian, is that it's usually a future run by a corporation, or a tyrant king or some shit like that. It'd be like if Walmart gained a lot of power and ran the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
um Another good example show is Snowpiercer, Black Mirror on Netflix. So many episodes of Black Mirror are dystopian future episodes, like the one where um, everyone's worth is based off of their social status, and if you're unpopular online, like if you get a bunch of dislikes or something, they'll publicly execute you, shit like that. Um, it just imagines a world where our lives are literally run by technology rather than
Yeah.
it being a side piece to it. Altered Carbon, 12 Monkeys, The Man in High Castle.
Hmm.
The Last of Us kind of counts. The Last of Us is apocalyptic and dystopian. Same for The Walking Dead, but I would say they lean more. Well, The Walking Dead is more zombie apocalypse, and The Last of Us is more viral pandemic. Um,
Okay.
type of situation, but they both have their dystopia. Battlestar Galactica, though, yes, I can see that. Um, Fringe, yeah, I could see that. That was a show that Ryan really liked when it was on. It's not on anymore, but I remember him showing me like some of the first season of it, and it was good. So, yeah, I can agree with that. Um, I wonder if the his Dark Materials Polar Express based story counts. Do you think that counts? The
I don't know. I have not seen any of it.
or sorry, not the Polar Express, not the Golden Compass. God, why do I always
Go.
fuck those two up?
Wow.
I wonder if it's because the Golden Compass has a show on HBO based off the books called His Dark Materials.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels dystopian at times, but at other times it feels more like a Narnia fantasy type thing. So I'm not sure if I would really count it, but it I do think it kind of goes there. You could also argue
Okay.
you could also argue that Kingdom Hearts is kind of a dystopian future because if you look at where the series started, like the mobile game and Birth by Sleep take place in times where they're still where Keyblade wielders are still, taking the Mark of Mastery exam, things are still very formal. There's masters and apprentices. It's kind of like Star Wars in that
Hmm.
the prequels there was a lot of Jedi. It was very formal. There was masters and apprentices. They're going out on missions and stuff, and then you get to like the episode 4 and all that, and it's just Luke Skywalker, and you get to like the first Kingdom Hearts game, and it's just Sora. You know what I mean? Um, and a lot of the worlds have been destroyed by the Heartless, so you're basically seeing bits and pieces of what's left of a lot of them. Uh, and you've come Sora becomes a Keyblade wielder after a time where all the old masters are long dead and the tradition died with them. So he's just learning all this on his own. He doesn't even get an
Hmm.
Obi-Wan. He doesn't even get a fucking Obi-Wan like Luke did. He just has to figure it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kind of sucks for him. Donald and Goofy help to an extent, but they know about as much as he does. And Mickey is a fucking asshole for just taking off and trying to explain everything in a letter. Like, bitch, that's not enough details. You- um, but yeah, it's kind of like it. So you could also say Star Wars is kind of sci-fi dystopian by the time you get around to A New Hope. Back in the prequel era, there's like a thriving society. They have laws. There's the Galactic Republic, and there's all the, like there's people overseeing things. Even though there's a war going on, there's two sides to it. And then after all that, when the Jedi are destroyed, it destroys the balance of the universe. And then as time goes on, that world gets more and more dystopian for the people living in it. The Empire takes over. Bounty hunters are on the rise. You got people fucking farming moisture on a sand planet to make a living. you know, it's pretty bad. So I would say that
Oh
counts.
yeah.
I would say that counts. Um, but anyways, on that note, I think we've talked
I
about
was just
I think we've
I
talked
was
doom and
just
gloom long enough.
I
Let's.
was just gonna say I am fighting to stay awake.
Well, whose fault is that? Not mine.
That is mine.
We'll just keep it in mind for the future. But anyways, yeah, I think we've talked doom and gloom long enough, and this isn't really a topic that requires a whole lot of. There's a lot of great dystopian future movies out there, and I could dive all day long into stuff like Blade Runner and Clockwork Orange, but you know,
Hmm.
uh, maybe this is a topic we'll come back to in a future episode. I don't want to make any promises, but maybe we'll look into it. But for now,
All right.
we'll call it on this one. So that'll be it for this episode, folks. The next episode you'll be hearing from us will be us doing our uh, Game Awards predictions and votes because the nominees will have been announced by then. They'll have been announced by the time you're hearing this episode. But next weekend we're gonna record our episode about those, and then after that, 2 more episodes to the season 2 finale. We'll also have a post Game Awards episode, and then finally our Cartoon Wars episode, which will be the season
Yes.
2 finale. Um, So stay tuned for that, where we pit Family Guy and South Park head to head to find out who's the master of cartoon comedy. And we'll talk about some other things too: Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, American Dad, all that. But it'll mostly be about those two. So, anyways, that'll be it for this episode. As per usual, if you're on YouTube, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Smash the like button, yada yada. Or, if you're on Spotify, they have comments now, so leave a comment down below. Also, you can email me at podcastoversoul@gmail.com or find me on Twitter at oversoul53. However, I am probably going to be making a Blue Sky account soon and using that instead because Twitter is a shithole now, so stay tuned for that. And you?
The hell is Blue Sky?
A version of Twitter that doesn't allow assholes on it.
Fair enough. You can find me over on Twitter at the Vaping Fiend and on TikTok at the Vaping Fiend.
Alright, that'll be it for this one. Stay safe out there, everybody, and, regardless of everything that's happened, just, try to do your best to, keep moving forward and stay positive. And, we will see you in the dystopian future. Bye for now.
Bye.